Hello everyone and welcome to Buffalo Live, your one-stop shop for live professional play-by-play reaction to every Buffalo Bills game, plus talk about our new rookies that have entered One Bills Drive. If you didn't know, I just recently posted a highlight reel video titled Cole Bishop Checkmate. Had so much fun making it, and that's going to be really the subject of our video today. Not the video itself, but just what I learned from watching so much of Cole Bishop and his time at Utah. So that'll be the focus of today's video. But before we get into that, I wanted to jump into some news around the league. First of all, it's been reported that Zay Jones, wide receiver that was released by the Jacksonville Jaguars recently, has made an official visit with the Kansas City Chiefs. And this makes a lot of sense with what's going on with Rashee Rice, their other wide receiver there. It was reported by Adam Tyker of ESPN that the police there confirmed to the Dallas Morning News on Tuesday that Rashee Rice is a suspect in an alleged assault that injured a man at a Dallas nightclub earlier this week. And that comes after he was arrested back in April for a 6-car crash in March that left 7 people injured. So you've got off-the-field stuff really piling up with Rashee Rice. So I think Brett Veach and the Kansas City Chiefs organization are kind of fearful maybe this guy is not going to be on the field much this coming season. So a lot of this stuff kind of made me want to look into Rashee Rice and see if there were any character concerns before the Chiefs drafted him last season. And from what I could tell, I couldn't find anything. Seemed like, there wasn't really anything reported on. His Wikipedia page is clean up until these things recently, and all the draft profile pages that I read about, I didn't see anything about any character issues. So Zay Jones meets with the Chiefs, hasn't signed yet, but they would be definitely interested in signing another guy in the building in case Rashee Rice is suspended. So, and that would eliminate a wide receiver from the free agent pool, which it's looking more and more like the Bills are really not even interested in anymore with as many guys that are in the building now. Chase Claypool just joining last week. So it's becoming less relevant for me to talk about this as a Bills fan, and I say that with this next bit of news. Tyler Boyd goes to the Titans earlier this week. And just a quick note on the Titans wide receiver room. 2 years ago, this was the Tennessee Titans wide receiver room. Robert Woods, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, and Treylon Burks. Fast forward to today, now you have DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and Tyler Boyd. That is a fairly quick turnaround for a team that was not looking good in the passing game. So make that another wide receiver that's off the free agent block. And I wanted to list the guys that are out there that are still available. Corey Davis, Russell Gage, McCole Hardman, Julio Jones, Zay Jones, as I just mentioned, Hunter Renfrow. Allen Robinson actually just signed with the New York Giants this morning, so that's no longer an option there. Sterling Shepard, Michael Thomas, and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Those are the biggest names that I see on the market. And a lot of guys I've mentioned there aren't really going to be needed for the Bills scheme simply because they probably already have a guy like McCole Hardman or a Hunter Renfrow or a Sterling Shepard. Smaller slot receivers I don't think are really, I would be so surprised if the Bills signed a guy like that with them already having 2 starters in Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir. So who knows? My sneaky sleeper move is that the Bills are going to trade for Allen Lazard. I think the Jets could trade him away for a 6th-round pick. And but yeah, as I said, it just feels weird having just last week acquired Chase Claypool, big-bodied guy like Lazard, to think that the Bills would go out and get someone else. But you never know. I still think there's still that one piece, that one outside boundary receiver that the Bills are really missing. And if we have to roll into the season like this, if that's what Brandon Beane's comfortable with, then that's what he's comfortable with. But definitely a regression with Diggs leaving the building, that's for sure. All right, let's talk Cole Bishop now. Man, did I have a blast watching this guy. What a career he had at Utah, 3 seasons there, and definitely contributed to a really special Utah program. It feels like within the past, 5 or so years, Utah football has really come onto the scene. So, and it's due to guys like him and Dalton Kincaid. So let's start with some bad things that I saw out of Bishop watching all the tape that I did. So first of all, for a guy that is as strong as Bishop is, you'd think that the red zone would be an area that he can, press guys and get physical with. But there were several times where, I didn't really see him utilize his hands enough to stay balanced and stay stuck to his receiver that he was guarding. 2 plays in particular caught my eye were against USC. Tight end, he met at the line of scrimmage. And I don't want to pick on these 2 plays, but these are just things I saw in general, and here are some specific examples if you want to go look them up. USC tight end, he meets him at the line of scrimmage and then kind of gets pushed off. And so I don't think he was really anticipating a route being run on that play. Maybe he was, but either way, he just got imbalanced. He didn't really meet this guy with his hands at his shoulder pads and really press him up. He got kind of thrown off balance, and they threw him a touchdown. So also another play, if you're interested in looking at it, is Oregon against Troy Franklin, actually. So you have a bigger tight end example with this USC game, and then you have Troy Franklin, who I think Utah is in a zone coverage, and Franklin goes really right at Bishop and puts a small, quick move on him, and Bishop stumbles, and Bo Nix throws Franklin the touchdown. So, you want to see Bishop utilize, like I said, his strength more, his hands more, to just press and get physical with guys in the red zone and stick to them. That's really the way to do it. So there's the red zone coverage there. I'd love to see get better. Tackling techniques above the shoulders. So I mentioned above the shoulders for a reason, because I do think below the shoulders, I think he's great, but and I'll get on that later. But above the shoulders, what I mean by this is simply that he ducks his head sometimes, and that causes him to miss tackles. So got to keep your head up as you're lunging to make a tackle. Sometimes he flies too far up the field as a blitzer or as a run stopper, so he needs to stay lateral at the line of scrimmage, especially if he's setting the edge. It doesn't do your team any good if you set the edge way upfield. Running back's just going to run right by you. You want to kind of collapse down into the line of scrimmage in order to really plug that run. Last thing I'll say, and this has kind of been widely reported on, but just leaving space behind him as a deep zone defender. He got beat a few times, once in the Oregon game, once in the game against Penn State in the Rose Bowl last year, not this past year, but the year before. And so, he in those plays, he's the last line of defense. And so he's got to be able to keep everything in front of him, and he's just not going to be able to start in the NFL as a safety if he doesn't do that. So if that's just something he can't work on and improve upon in his game, then the Bills are going to have to use him exclusively as a nickel back or a safety that is just playing in the box. Because if that's the kind of quality of play that the Bills will get with him as a deep zone safety, I think he'll be a liability every time he steps on the field. Strengths. First thing I wrote about when I started writing his strengths is he's always in the right spot. He's always near the ball. He's always in on a gang tackle. He's always there if a fumble is made. Really appreciate that about him. That speaks to his football IQ and just an awareness of what's going on across the line of scrimmage. Tackling so I mentioned this before, tackling technique below the shoulders. His usage of hands and his arms and wrapping up tackles is great. Really love that about him. I never see his arms go limp when he's in the middle of making a tackle. So he keeps them up, nice up and wide, and really does a great job wrapping up and using his arms throughout the tackle. So good on him there. And he uses his legs to explode through the tackle. Really love that about him. Lunges forward into the tackle as opposed to leaving himself open to be run over. So that's definitely a strength of his. And he's just good at breaking down in the middle of maybe an open field tackle. And he's really good at breaking down and using the sideline to his advantage, keeping everything towards the sideline. So he's great at tackling with his technique below the shoulders. So pursuit game is next, and I don't mean pursuit as in chasing someone down the sideline, because I honestly don't think that he has elite speed as a safety. But what I do mean is chasing let's say a quarterback headed for the sideline who's scrambling, chasing a runner across the field, anticipating potential cutbacks and maybe slow plays, right? If quarterback's kind of being patient after the play has been taken, beyond the line of scrimmage, and he's still kind of following blocks. Cole Bishop is not someone who gives up on the play. He's still chasing that guy down while the play's going on. And he's canceling that future yardage that the guy would otherwise get if he wasn't tackled from behind. So that's a strength there. And then last thing I'd like to say is he's a great kid. I mean, really, that shows up in his interviews, combine interviews that he had at Utah. I really loved what I saw from the Embedded episode in terms of his relationship with Kincaid. You really got the feeling like he is excited to have a friend entering the NFL. A lot of guys don't get that. A lot of guys get placed into a city they've never been to, and they don't know a soul. And so I think it's great that the Bills have set these two up together to play with each other for the next 3 or 4 years even more. I was super happy to see they have got their locker mates. So you've got the lockers right next to each other in the locker room, so that's cool. But yeah, just a great kid. I don't think this is going to be anyone the Bills will have to question in terms of his character and integrity there. So those are my takeaways from watching Cole Bishop. Later on in the video, I'm going to ask you to comment and share your own. But I want to get into some other Bills news very quickly before we end this episode here of Buffalo Live. Joe Collier passed away this past Monday, May 6th. He was the head coach for the Buffalo Bills from 1966 to 1968. So I don't imagine anyone watching this video has ever, watched those games or really knew much about Joe Collier. But he did popularize the 3-4 defense in the NFL, and that is, a strong nose tackle and strong inside linebackers, and you just got those three guys on the line of scrimmage as your defensive line. So Joe Collier was really the one who popularized that back in the 60s. He lost in the AFL championship game to the Kansas City Chiefs in 1966. That was the first year he was the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. And so he was 2 games away from giving this organization its first Super Bowl. But couldn't get past the Chiefs there in the AFL Championship. He finished up with a head coaching record of 13-16-1. So not terrible, but 2 games away from winning a Super Bowl. Pretty cool. Condolences to his family as he passes away this past Monday. John Murphy, play-by-play analyst for the Buffalo Bills for 19 years, a color analyst before that, has stepped down as the official play-by-play man for the Bills. As someone who is an aspiring play-by-play commentator, really loved what I heard from John Murphy. I'm not going to sit here and say that I, listened to every game of his as a Buffalo Bills fan, because I live down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and so I don't get, local Buffalo radio like that. But I've obviously heard his calls, seen many, many clips of his calls. And I really loved what he brought to the game in terms of his energy, his love for the Bills, his professionalism, someone who understood the importance of not getting too excited on the mic, destroying the audio. He was very good about channeling his energy and yet keeping his volume at the right level. So he steps away from the game. Chris Brown obviously taking over. But I'm curious if anyone in the comment section has a first memory of listening to John Murphy, or a favorite call of his. Please let me know in the comment section. I'd really be interested in hearing about that. Let's see here. I think that's going to about do it for this edition of Buffalo Live. Please like this video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you want to see more, and comment. Now, we are going to have $12 million next month in cap space for this Buffalo Bills team next month. What would you want the Bills to do with that money? I think I might do a video on that here later this week. So, but what do you think the Bills should do with that money? Is there a wide receiver that I mentioned earlier in this video that you're interested in the Bills signing? What are your thoughts on what you've seen out of Cole Bishop? And maybe what strengths you saw, maybe what weaknesses you saw out of him? And who would you like to see me do a hype video of next? Perhaps Dwayne Carter, maybe Curtis Samuel. How about Chase Claypool? I have to dig, a couple seasons back, but the guy still, in his rookie year and his time at Notre Dame, he was an electric player. And so maybe do a video on him. Let me know in the comments. Regardless, I want to thank you so much for watching Buffalo Live. I'm your host, Kyle. Go Bills, and God bless.